All right, let's dive into a massive shakeup in India's national security strategy. We're talking about a move that is completely redefining who builds the nation's arsenal. It's a genuine revolution in how the country is getting ready for whatever comes next. And this quote really hits the nail on the head. It's all about long-term defense preparedness. This isn't just a quick fix. It's a strategic pivot, designed to make sure India can sustain its military might, not just for a quick fight, but through any long, drawn-out conflict. So here's the headline. For the very first time, private companies in India have been given the green light to develop and mass produce pretty much everything from missiles to artillery shells. This completely flips the script on decades of policy where this kind of work was strictly for state-owned companies. Which, of course, brings up the big question. Why? Why such a huge change, and why is it happening right now? A move this significant doesn't just happen out of the blue. There has to be a powerful reason, something so important that it forces a total strategic rethink. And that reason, that catalyst, has a name: Operation Sindoor. This conflict was basically a real-world stress test for India's military. And believe me, the lessons they learned from it are the direct trigger for this entire policy change we're talking about today. Okay, so let's look at the timeline. The operation kicks off on May 7th with precision strikes. But the moment that changed everything happened on May 10th. An Indian S-400 missile system, we're talking top-tier air defense here, took down a Pakistani aircraft from a staggering 314 kilometers away. That proved, without a doubt, that the future of war is all about long-range weapons. But, and this is a big but, the review after the operation showed a huge weakness. The tech was amazing, but the supply chain needed to back it up? Well, it was dangerously fragile. And that led to 4 really key takeaways. First, future battles are going to be fought from a distance. Second, India could run into serious ammo shortages in a long war because the state-owned factories just couldn't ramp up production fast enough. And finally, you look at what's happening around the world. Conflicts are straining global supply chains, so just buying what you need from other countries is not a reliable plan anymore. So the problem was crystal clear. India needed more missiles, more ammo, and it needed to make them at home. The solution? Well, it was time to unleash the private sector. But to do that, they had to tear down a huge piece of red tape that was holding everybody back. And that roadblock was called the No Objection Certificate, or NOC. Now, just imagine this. You want to start a business, but first, you have to go get a permission slip from your biggest competitor. That's pretty much what this was. A state-owned company was the gatekeeper, and it was basically strangling any chance for private companies to get in the game. The change is just dramatic. Before, you had this bureaucratic brick wall blocking private companies. Now, that wall has been completely torn down. The government has totally scrapped the NOC requirement, opening up a direct highway for private firms to step up and start building. So, what are we talking about here? What can these private firms actually build? Let me tell you, this isn't about small stuff. We're talking about heavy-duty hardware, things like Pinaka multi-barrel rocket systems, massive 1,000-pound bombs, and a whole arsenal of artillery and mortar shells. This makes the whole policy shift feel very, very real. Now, it's super important to understand that while this whole thing was triggered by military needs, it actually fits into a much bigger picture for India. It's really just one piece of a much larger, very ambitious national puzzle. And that puzzle has a name, Atmanirbhar Bharat, which basically translates to self-reliant India. It's this huge national campaign to depend less on foreign countries and build up capabilities at home, especially in critical areas like, you guessed it, defense. This policy is a perfect example of that vision being put into action. You can see how this policy is a huge step on that path to self-reliance. It checks all the boxes. It cuts down dependence on foreign suppliers, it boosts manufacturing right there in India, and it creates a much stronger, more diverse industrial base. The end game is pretty simple: a more secure and ready nation. So this policy really creates a whole new division of labor, a new defense ecosystem. The private sector's new job is to handle the mass production of all the conventional weapons. This frees up the government's R&D agency, the DRDO, to focus on the really cutting-edge stuff, the next-generation strategic missiles. And the state-owned firms? They'll still be there, working alongside the private sector, creating a stronger hybrid system. So what's the expected payoff here? Well, as you can see, the biggest wins are expected in military readiness and domestic innovation. That means having the weapons you need right when you need them, and at the same time, sparking more competition and tech growth at home. And over time, yeah, this should also mean spending a lot less money on pricey foreign imports. So, what's the ultimate takeaway from all this? This isn't just about building more weapons. It's about building them faster, smarter, and on your own terms. India is making a really bold bet here. A bet that a competitive, private sector-driven defense industry is the real key to its future security. And that leaves us with a pretty big question. How is this monumental shift going to reshape the balance of power, not just in the region, but